Welcome to the Necronama.com, where we're spending all of October looking at 31 episodes of The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror. Today, we're looking at Treehouse 16 from November 6th, 2005. I am James Sabata.
And I'm Don Guillory.
And I'm Thomas Brungardt.
And here we are again.
What number is this?
More Simpsons. I don't know. Haven't you been keeping
track? Number 16. You could be enthusiastic about it. I mean, we have this moment where it actually starts to peak up a little bit more, or at least before it, I'm assuming it may dip again, as most things do.
None of us know because we haven't seen them.
Except for Don. Haven't you seen all of them, Don?
I've seen some from this point on until like the 30th one. And it was part of that whole, every Simpsons ever started to rekindle some of the I guess, the desire to watch it. And then with FXX or FXX, whichever one shows it all the time, they would do their marathons based off of, they would do thematic marathons every now and then. And sometimes it was just, it's in order. We'll play season 5 straight through. But I think around Halloween, they start doing the marathons of the Treehouse of Horror. So I've probably seen most of the newer ones, but I can't recall anything that sticks out.
Interesting.
Gotcha.
But,
well, I have definitely not seen them.
Well, I know you haven't. Or else you would tell me like the good or the bad.
I haven't either, but I agree that this is kind of a peak. Like I feel like we're exiting a valley and we're climbing uphill back towards something more worthwhile.
We'll see.
Should we get into that cold open? Because I liked the baseball game bit.
Oh God, yes.
Did you skip it, James?
I did not.
So you saw the Accelerate.
I started letting them play because, I was skipping them. Yeah.
I loved all of these stupid, and they started doing this a lot these years where they're just making fun of shows that are on Fox. And they're just making up shows that would be on Fox, like Baked in a Pie, Tuesdays on Fox. I like that kind of humor. I thought that was funny. And I liked King and Kodos being so bored of baseball that they destroyed the universe.
Well, baseball's been this weird thing, though. It's known as America's pastime, right? But is there anybody who sits and watches the games at home if it's not something like a high stakes game or rivalry or anything like that? I can't imagine anybody sitting there and watching it. Even for the cool little spectacle that it is now with no audience, and then seeing things like the cutouts of fans, or in the case of Korean baseball, the sex dolls.
Well, I'll say that I do watch full baseball games at home. In fact, I'll watch a couple a day because they'll have the Giants game on. I'm in California. We'll watch the Giants game and then I'll watch the A's game because there's nothing else for me to do. But also I love baseball, so I agree. It is slow. It is a bit of a slog, but I enjoy watching it.
I mean, I like it. It's one of those games that I think I enjoy more going to go see it played or go see it performed, depending on how you look at it. Whereas other stuff like football, basketball, if I'm going to watch it, I'd rather fucking sit at home.
Baseball is more of like a social event because you go there and you get the food and the drinks and you're just hanging out with people, and it's a more social thing than being crammed in an arena watching basketball or hockey. It's kind of more. Are we still talking about The Simpsons?
Yeah, we're talking about the.
We were talking about The Simpsons.
I mean, they've got a good point though. I mean, as far as that's always the joke about baseball, or even golf for that matter. It's these sports that take up a lot of time and a lot of our time that we hold in high regard or high esteem, But when we really look at it, it's fucking boring. Aside from Kang and Kodos make that reference to the baseball players using steroids. And in all honesty, if it hadn't been for Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa juicing and knocking all those home runs out, people wouldn't have given a shit about baseball. Like there were two things that revived baseball at the end of the 90s, beginning of the 2000s. It was the home run chase and the interleague play.
Well, that's because people like seeing people hit some dingers.
Yeah. No one likes a pitcher's duel.
But I disagree. I like a pitcher's duel, but I'm finding out that I am not a normal person in this conversation. Let's talk about Act 1, which was called Bartificial Intelligence, or BI. I believe it's the name at least is a spoof on artificial intelligence. I didn't see that movie. I was more of a K-Pax kid. We can get into that another time. But
we had Pinocchio in my day because that was the style at the time.
You'd put an onion on your belt. So Bart falls. I believe he falls, and he falls into a coma. And Dr. Hibbert says, like, oh, coma's basically dead. So they order a Robo-Tot from Boys R Us. And it's just this robot that replaces Bart. And they go through the motions of, like, breaking him in. Homer chokes him because, they always fit in the child abuse. And then Bart comes back. And Bart and the robot have to coexist in one of my favorite Treehouse of Horror sequences, only because it's like over the entire Eagles song New Kid in Town, which to me felt really random and really out of place, but amazing that they paid and got the rights to that song.
Right.
And then Homer abandons Bart, and when they get back to the house, Homer's playing with the robot, and he's just shooting the robot in the chest with a Glock, because that's how you play with a robot. And then it all turns out to be like this Jacob's Ladder dream sequence. And really, he's just... Who was it? Somebody's possessed by the devil? I don't know if it was Bart.
No, he's Bart. Possessed by the devil.
Right. And that's how that one ends. So what did you guys think of Artificial Intelligence?
I mean, that is the line I like. You're not a robot. You're just possessed by the devil.
Oh, that's right. He hooks up with those like abandoned robots, and then he steals all of their parts and becomes a Frankenbot, right?
Yeah. I really don't like this one. I don't know if it was just me, but it just didn't work for me. I was bored the entire time, to be honest with you. That's my entire take on this. Don, go ahead.
Okay, so you didn't see this as a possible idea, or at least the way that we could see people as replaceable?
I didn't say I didn't understand things.
No. I mean, you can still be bored, but there's still going to be the idea of the commentary there, because that one I did think was, again, I didn't see BI as well. I'm sorry, AI. Jesus. I didn't see artificial intelligence.
I didn't see BI. I'm making this up as we go. That part where Bart joined the baseball team was something, wasn't it?
Go
Robo baseball.
No, but it's. I thought it was interesting because it talks about this. Well, at least from an analytical perspective, you could talk about the how disposable technology is and how we get tired of it real easily. Because all the robots that Bart gets dropped off with, it are all these things that were functional at one point, or at least had some function, but they've outgrown their use, or the novelty's worn off, and fuck it, I'm just going to drop you off in the woods. What do you guys think about that? I mean, because we can't really get into all Amazon automating things or businesses automating work, but I mean, is there any truth to, if there's a new toy, at least within American society, fuck the old toy, I just need to get rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, anybody out there who wants to grab their gold-plated iPhone and send me a text right now, oh, you can't, because you already threw them the fuck away. Yeah, I mean, that's always the thing. Everybody stands in line for 19 hours to go get this fucking thing, and then like 5 minutes later it's scratched, and you don't care because you're looking for the next new thing. Kind of like my dating life.
Well, I think it's a privileged thing to like throw away the thing you have to get the newest thing. I think, at least in my world, I'll wait, a little while at least, and then I'll try and flip whatever I have on Craigslist just to help pay for the new thing. So the idea of throwing robots into the forest is crazy to me.
I used to be one of those people that not one of the iPhone people, because I've never had one, don't ever want one, don't care to have one. But if there was a new phone that was coming out and you got, the 2-year plan or whatever it is until you can get your next phone, I was that guy. I'm like, oh shit, I can get my upgrade, or I can get my new phone, next month or next week or today. And I looked forward to it. I've had the same phone for the past 4 years. Not changed it, not updated. I mean, other than software, haven't, swapped it out, haven't done anything significant with it because I don't use it for that much. So I don't look at it as I need to get this next, the next Galaxy or iPhone or whatever because the camera is different, or it has 1,000 extra colors. So now it has 1,750,000 colors instead of what it had before. And I think that's what we end up with technology. It's a lot of things that it's just a minor change for a lot of us, a better camera, or it's now in a different color. And for some people, that's all it takes.
Well, like what James was saying, and I agree with about the relationship thing, is that I feel like technology and what people want in technology mirrors what people want out of life.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always people who are like, I call them like a grass is greener type, where no matter what situation they're in, good or bad, they're always imagining how it could be better in like the unknown. So it's like, I have a fully functioning phone. There's nothing wrong with it, but they just came out with this new shiny thing. And to me, it's the better option. So I have to be on that side of it.
Yeah.
Definitely. Also, Don, you never upgrading? That explains our picture quality on our Instagram account. So, but no, I mean, even like you have these people that listen to podcasts and they want a new episode every single day in October. Like, people used to be happy with one on Mondays. Man.
It's a podcast based economy, and you got to keep up.
Absolutely. I'm the same way with food, though. Like, right? I'm the same way with food, though. Like the food I ate 5 minutes ago. Like now I want new food. No.
Well, my thing is, I mean, I don't think this is just like I mean, the Simpsons are supposed to represent American society, right? The average dysfunctional American family, and I mean, in all honesty, I don't want to say that this is any other culture, but I can definitely say that this is the way it is in the U.S. If there's some new shit, I have to have it.
I mean, I think that's just human nature if you can afford it and you have access to stuff,
Well, not even affording it. I mean, there are people who, will live beyond their means because
sure, but I mean, shit. you still have some way to pay for it, whether you're paying for it for the next 20 years in interest.
Right.
I mean, like, I was saying, like, I don't know, some extremely poor person does not have that same access, even to go into debt. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like wanting the new thing is always ingrained in us. I mean, our brains react differently to new. That's why, like, if you cheat, then you get like this different feel in your head because your brain literally makes different chemicals because it's new and it's different and it's exciting. So, I mean, I don't know that you should throw your robot in the forest, though. That seems bad. We could have sold them. They're like babies.
We could just start making a couple more. My favorite line in this act is when Homer tells the robot to punch Flanders, and he punches him in the balls, and then Ned says, "My Flanders doodles." It just seems funny. I don't know. I liked it.
Oh man!
But that's all I got for this one.
Cool.
All right, well, let's jump to that next one then.
Survival of the Fattest. I took this one because I'm fat. All right. So this is a parody of the 1924 short story, The Most Dangerous Game. We have a bunch of the men in Springfield coming to Mr. Burns' mansion, and they think they're going hunting for some reason. For some reason, they're all like, oh yeah, Burns would definitely invite me to this. That seems totally normal. I should go. And then they get there, and Burns starts hunting them because he's actually hunting them. You know? Yeah, that made perfect sense. Way to go, me. And then Burns and Smithers get knocked out by Marge with a frying pan. And I love that part just because, like, did she bring these with her? Like, was that her entire plan the whole time? She was, I better bring these frying pans with me? I don't know. Did she find them there? I have no idea. But, yeah, and then, you know, I don't remember how it ends. Oh, yeah, they end up having sex while
Terry Bradshaw's watching.
Yeah, the announce team gives us the play-by-play.
Well, that
was the first summary I've ever done, and I don't even care. It was great.
Well, no, it doesn't matter. What was really good about that ending is, well, one, it's Terry Bradshaw. Pants. But it's Terry Bradshaw making that comment of like, oh, this is where we are in TV, that, you know, they don't let you say anything or you can have all the gratuitous violence, but I bet you they'll go to commercial before they, you know, they engage in the act of tender lovemaking. And it keeps going. It's like, oh my gosh, they surprised me. We didn't go to commercial. But just the idea of, you know, language. I'm telling you right now, James, you and I grew up in the same generation. We saw all types of shit on television and cable and in movies with respect to violence, right? Sure. But as far as, I guess, normal acts of connection, of intimacy and whatever, that shit was not regularly shown on television. But, you know, the A-Team blows up half a fucking town. And, you know, we have this thing where we can't talk to kids about sex.
Yeah, I always tell my sons, I'm like, you don't understand the struggle. Like, by the time that you connected to the internet, your boner was gone. What, can I not say that on this show?
You mean all the robot screeching wasn't foreplay?
Maybe. That's why we threw them into the forest. Can't let anybody find out about this.
Well, there was another movie I thought about with this one, and of course it's an adaptation of Survival of the Fittest and Dangerous Game. It's John Leguizamo's movie, The Pest, and in it, it's basically the same fucking plot, or at least a portion of the movie involves the same plot. And he goes, you know, he's going to earn some money to participate in this weekend thing with this rich guy, and it's basically I'm going to hunt you. But he's so dumb, just like Homer. It takes him a while to figure out that he's being hunted. So he sees all these heads on a wall of all these animals, and then it's, you know, an Asian man, a black male, a white guy, and then, you know, underneath the trophy, I mean, it was an empty trophy plaque, and on the lettering, it was, you know, some type of racial slur on it in Latin. And he was sitting there, like, oh, that's pretty cool. You know, I wonder what's going to go there. I find these types of stories interesting because it makes you question, well, one, a lot of things. Would we somehow turn this into entertainment?
As Americans? Hell yeah. Like, we absolutely would.
Would people watch it, though?
Yes.
It'd be like the Hunger Games. Right? Like,
I mean, you could definitely see it like that as far as with Hunger Games, or at least the comparison between the books and with the books and movies to this. But I question it, you know, would there be this moment where somebody gets truly disgusted with it? Or just the absurdity? Because even in the late 80s, early 90s, there was that call to, you know, call the violence on television, because we had things like roller derby and American Gladiators, and apparently that was too violent for people to watch on television. And then we had, you know, predictions that there would be TV shows like the Running Man movie.
Well, I mean, okay, so I look at like NASCAR, right? And Thomas, You can correct me if you want, because you're the resident expert. But I look at my friends who are not NASCAR fans, and when there's a major accident, like not even necessarily somebody dying, but definitely if they die, any major accident, somebody shares it on Facebook or it's all over Twitter. I'm guilty of it myself. I watch those, right? So if we're not watching the normal sport and we don't care like some really cool move that got the guy the win, but we care about this, and then I look at reality TV and where it's gone over the years and how, I don't know, we were all fascinated by women lining up to fuck Flavor Flav, right? so I absolutely think that not only would we do this, I think it's in our future.
Well, I think there's just a morbidness to like human curiosity where like people will want to see a horrific accident because I think it's your own way of conquering a fear, right? Because you wouldn't want to be in that situation, but seeing somebody else in it is like something you can do. And I don't know, you know, it's like, I'm sure we've all seen the video of Joe Theismann's leg breaking in half, right?
Yep.
And I know people who have seen that video who don't watch football. So it's just, people want to see people get hurt. People want to see like that extreme of what could happen to a person.
Yeah, that's true. I look at like injuries from basketball, and I don't watch basketball, but you get some really gnarly leg injuries. Yeah, I definitely see that.
Or somebody gets poked in the eye, and you're like, wow, that guy got poked in the eye. But I wouldn't watch the whole game, right?
Well, no, nothing else is going to live up to that.
But this whole, like, I love the story of like the most dangerous game. I think that's great. But this is another bit for me that The Simpsons tried to adapt something and kind of half-assed it and didn't really do it very well. Like, it got caught up in gimmick of like Terry Bradshaw and it being a stupid show on Fox. Like, they went back to that well, and it felt really like they were playing up stereotypes. Like, he sniffs out a poo because he smells like curry.
Yeah.
And the show is called World Series of Manslaughter, and they make a quip about, oh, but you're not watching the Hip Hop Image Awards. And I know we've talked about this in previous episodes about how hip hop awards were violent at the time, but even that joke feels dated because I think this is from 2006. Yeah, I don't know. It didn't feel like a well thought out episode. And the thing that I wanted to hear more about was they briefly talked about Bart's mental health and how he had shot a hobo and he still thinks he just shot a bird. Like, that to me is a more interesting story.
That was nuts. Like, that was the part that I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Because it was one thing when Bart said it, but then when Marge is like, I still thinks it was a bird.
Still thinks that hobo was a bird.
Yeah, no, I want to see way more about that. That's crazy shit right there. And that's a problem with The Simpsons right there. When they have like another plot that would be more interesting or more terrifying, and then they don't do anything at all with it. I don't know. I feel like some episodes like this one, it's too close to the source material. Like we're going to talk about this in a little, I don't know, a couple days with the War of the Worlds one. And it's like, it's the same shit. You know, it's so close to the source material. I'm like, what were you even doing? Like, that's not a parody to me. And while they get away from that in this, but I feel like there's too much time spent on that. I don't know.
Okay.
I agree.
All right. Well, let's jump to the third one. Unless anybody else has anything on this.
No, please continue.
All right. The best play on words title they could ever come up with. The third sketch is, or the third act is, I've grown a costume on your face. So this is a parody of a couple things, but it's also is a parody of the Twilight Zone episode, The Mask. Everybody, it's Halloween, so everyone is dressing up as for a costume contest. A witch is picked. But then she reveals that she's not wearing a costume. She's actually a witch, and she's disqualified. And in revenge, she turns everyone into their costumes. And it ultimately ends with people trying to figure out how to fix this. Maggie's a witch, or dressed as a witch. So she then turns everybody into pacifiers. Now, in this episode, there were some. I mean, it's a very straightforward. There's really not much depth to it. But one question I had for this episode is, as a kid or as an adult, I mean, no judgment here. What is one Halloween costume that you would love for this to happen in, and one that you would ultimately just fear like this would be a fucking nightmare?
I mean, that time that I went as a sexy nurse could go either way.
Oh boy.
So that's answering both parts of the question. Okay.
Yeah,
Thomas?
yeah, sure.
I think
You want an honest answer? Go ahead, Thomas.
One year, my dog and I were Wallace and Gromit, but I was Gromit and he was Wallace, so I think that would be funny. Just to be stuck in that claymation hell of being a very smart dog with a cheese-loving human. I was never a big costume person growing up. I think I just threw on whatever I had around the house. Most years I would just put on flannel and then cover my head in fake blood and say that I was Kurt Cobain. So maybe not that one.
You don't want that one to come true.
No. What about you, Don? Do you have one queued up for this?
Yeah, I've got a couple because I didn't realize until I asked the question how this actually tied into this episode. But the one I would not want to be was when I dressed up as Dennis Rodman for Halloween.
Oh, shit.
And
Talks about literacy too much?
I'm sorry, what?
Because he talks about literacy too much?
No, I think I would end up having to take on a lot of his... I would love to have his basketball skill.
Wait, was this Carmen Electra Dennis Rodman or Kim Jong-un Dennis Rodman?
No, this was Carmen Electra days. Kim Jong-un version doesn't come around till 2012, 2013.
Do you have pictures?
Yourself go as Kim Jong-un this year.
He'll just be in a coma.
And then the one I would
finally sleep.
I wouldn't mind being, because we all have those traditional Halloween costumes where you're a vampire or Frankenstein's monster or some shit like that.
Blackula.
Why do you think I'm Blackula? I'm dressed. I told my wife not to. Probably The Rock, because I dressed up as The Rock when I was working at a movie theater when I was sophomore in college, I think. So probably that one, but it was Attitude Era Rock with the bright colored shirts post the Nation. So it'd have that nice little pompadour in the sideburns.
I was going to say, did you have the burns?
Oh, I had the sideburns.
How many times do I have to tell you? Shave off those sideburns.
Boo.
Boo. I liked that mole man got turned
burns.
I like that mole man got turned into a mole. Speaking of boo earns.
Yes.
Yes.
Wasn't even wearing a costume. I like that Bumblebee man became a Bumblebee. That was pretty great.
Because he's always in costume.
Yeah, but just actually thinking that out. That's probably the most effort they put into anything, actually remembering that.
Was it Wiggum who ended up being Jared from Subway?
Yes, that was the one I wanted to bring up. Which
the irony.
He talked about the sexual. Oh gosh.
I think it is irony because he's a cop and Jared got busted by the cops, right?
No. Also, he brought up the whole idea of he was sexually ambiguous, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He's a fucking pedophile. And if you're a pedophile, I don't give a shit about your feelings.
Yeah, it didn't age well.
No, this would age pretty well, because the joke is funnier now. You know?
But yeah, I mean, I guess I was more upset about the Korean animation joke.
Oh, yeah.
Or at least half of me was upset about it.
Not as upset as Nelson Muntz in that no one knew that he was the Lone Ranger.
I'm the Lone Ranger.
He was still a raccoon.
I love his tail. His tail was the best part of that joke.
But again,
sums up this episode unless anybody has anything.
I just wanted to say that I love The Simpsons fascination, like series wide with show tunes, and the play on "I've Grown Accustomed to Her Face" from My Fair Lady, because they parody that song in another episode when Sideshow Bob is trying to kill Bart again, and he doesn't do it because he's grown accustomed to his face. I just like, it's just this nerdy thing they do where they always have some kind of show tune going on. But that's, I don't have anything else to add beyond that.
This concludes another episode of the Necronomicon with James Sabata, Don Guillory, and Thomas Sexbot Brungardt.